Record.
Gotcha. I
You
know.
know, that is the thing. That is the thing. I mean, otherwise, how am I going to upload this if I don't record it? Yes, yes. And now I'm not on limited time anymore. I'm now free as a bird. Uh, Everything's all good here. All right. So my name is Naval J. Lee, and let me tell you, it's great when you can kick off 2022 with a video cast for the ages. Not just podcast, it's now a video cast. And I get the chance to fanboy and rock out with this man who has brought my favorite characters of Looney Tunes to life in brand new cartoons that are on HBO Max. Voicing Bugs Bunny, which you can see in my lovely background here, Daffy Duck, Tweety Bird, among numerous others, but those are my three hot contenders that he's doing right now. Eric Bauza, I am so excited that you're here to talk with me right now. Like legit excited.
I am too, and someone who has with someone who has the same admiration for these characters. I find it so easy to slide into conversation with someone like yourself, and I totally appreciate you taking the time to chat with me about Looney Tunes cartoons.
So I have to ask, when you were approached to voice these characters who have been a part of many people's lives since the 1930s and now taking on obviously a new form in life, what was that like for you when you got the chance to basically go into the studio and voice Bugs and Daffy and Tweety and numerous others?
Well, first of all, getting to uh, pick up kind of like where Mel Blanc left off is so surreal, and in a way just kind of like mind-boggling to even think that anyone could even come close to his performance with these characters, because honestly
Sure.
it's like, he didn't just create these characters, he was those characters. And some of my favorite moments of when he's performing like a character like Bugs is when he slips out of the voice and kind of does like his own kind of weird manic yelling, "Ooh, I'm dying!" Like that stuff to me. Just anyone can say, "What's up, Doc?" But it's that stuff where it just completely becomes a different, animal on its own. Is the stuff that I feel like that's the full bodied experience with these characters. So, when you get that initial email, "Hey, here's an audition for Bugs or Daffy, Marvin, Tweety," you're kind of just like, oh man, you have to think about all those countless hours spent Saturday mornings watching these characters, and you draw from that, right? You
Yeah.
draw from what drew you to the characters in the first place as a kid, and then you have to go, okay, not only am I putting myself to the test, but there's going to be thousands, if not millions, of other people that have the same relationship with these characters, and you have to think, man, there's going to be a lot of ears listening. So it's a lot of
Yep.
pressure. It's a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, it's an honor for me to give back to characters that help raise me and help shape my sense of humor.
Absolutely. And one of the conversations, I've actually had multiple conversations with Bob Bergen, who voices Porky Pig, and I love that man to death. I mean, every time I see him when I'm visiting Los Angeles for events, it's such a blessing and such an honor. And one of the things we have always talked about is how actors now that come in to voice these characters, they're putting their own spin on it, not trying to emulate Mel in the slightest, but they're putting their own succinct feel into it. And while you did put your own spin on it, yours kind of, at least in my opinion, is closest to Mel's version of Bugs than I've heard from anybody. And I think it's more due to the fact that it kind of emulates, especially with how the visuals look in the new cartoons now, to that era of those cartoons. The design, while it has a modern look, it does have that old appeal to it. And that's the same thing with Daffy Duck's voice that you do as well. It's very close to how Daffy sounded in the beginning before Mel fleshed him out a little bit with the voice and everything. I think Daffy's voice that you're currently doing is like how Daffy was first introduced in the beginning when he was opposite Porky Pig in those cartoons, which we are seeing now. So it's very interesting to see that tie in with from what we were used to and what we still are used to, basically, in a sense, to what we are seeing now. And I think it's incredible that you were able to bring that magic to it. And I love how you said that he would sometimes go out of the Bugs voice and into something, which made me think of the amusement park cartoon with Bugs and Yosemite Sam, and he was walking with all the snacks and the cotton candy, and it was like, I am
Yeah,
amused.
I am amused. Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for being that in tune with these characters that you do notice these nuances that not just myself, but fellow castmates like Fred Tatasciore or Jeff Bergman, Bob Bergen, Candy Milo are trying to put back into the characters. And kudos to the storytellers, the artists, the storyboard artists, the directors that are trying to kind of go back to the drawing board and make things a lot more simple. Like the shorts are back to being like 5 to 7 minutes long versus like an 11-minute or a 22-minute format. And yeah, even within like Mel's first performance of the characters, all those characters evolved, especially since they were being passed from director to director. So, you know, each director had their own way and flair of storytelling. So, of course, Mel is going to be directed in a certain way. You know, Chuck Jones versus Bob Clampett versus Friz Freleng versus Bob McKimson. So the character will naturally evolve even within the first 40 years with Mel, and then the next 30 to 40 years with people like Billy West or Jeff Bergman or Bob Bergen or Jeff Bennett. You know, so for me to kind of like hop into the driver's seat, I have my pick of the litter of who to reference. Of course, we're all going to go back to Mel. But there are so many different performances of Bugs, like with Joe Alasky.
Oh, Alasky was another one, yeah.
Like everyone kind of had their way and their turn with these characters, and even if you're looking at Baby Looney Tunes, Sam Vincent, you know, everyone had a specific thing that they brought to the table, and I love each and every interpretation of Bugs after Mel Blanc, like because I'm a kid of the '90s, right? So I grew up watching the original shorts in syndication for the first time Saturday mornings, and then I was watching like the newer '90s stuff. Even though I knew it wasn't Mel, I still appreciated what these performers brought to these animated shorts, and you could just tell that they were fans too. So, like, I love their love for Mel Blanc.
It's great that you bring up Joe Alasky too, as while I am also, well, I'm a kid I was born in the 80s, but I was a kid in the 90s. I don't know how that works, but where do I put myself in there?
Yeah.
But you know, watching, obviously being introduced to the shorts when they were in syndication, and of course having the chance to see and well hear Mel's voice as Bugs in a first run edition with the Who Framed Roger Rabbit, since they had all of the cartoons in there. So you got to hear Mel as Bugs in one of his final roles, doing the voice of Bugs in that movie. So it was great to see Mel put all of those Warner Brothers characters in that movie when they all meshed together. And then after his passing, and Joe Alasky comes in and takes over the role, which I first heard in Tiny Toons when he did Bugs in Tiny Toons Adventures. You know, as you said, he put his unique spin on the character, and it was still great. Like, these actors that came in after Mel were great. They were able to emulate how they felt Bugs should be and how Bugs should sound, and they were incredible doing it. And as you said, they're fans of these characters too. They're going to make sure they do the characters justice. So, you know, watching like in the 90s with even like newer shorts that Chuck Jones had done in the mid 90s, 93 to 95, and then Space Jam, and then after that with the Looney Tunes show, and it's been a great, interesting take. I love the fact that we're now back to seeing cartoons back in that format of 5 to 7 minutes. And I do love the fact that the slapstick is back in these cartoons, because I know it wasn't there for a while in the beginning, but now it's returned to the cartoons, and I think that just makes it even that much more enjoyable to watch, as well as reminiscing. Like when you're watching, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember that from the old cartoons. I remember that the tortoise was in the old cartoons, and he made an appearance in the new one. And that was just one of my favorites, just to see Bugs Bugs not being able to win because he never won with the tortoise. So seeing it still continue was amazing. That was amazing.
And I feel like that's a testament to the people that are writing the stories and doing the storyboards and directing, is like they're making these shorts so with the originals in mind, and there are so many like little callbacks, Easter egg shout outs that people like yourself, like true fans, are picking up on. And it's a little bit more updated and newer in a sense that it's almost like remixing a song. It's like it's like it's familiar, but it's got a new beat to it, and you can still like bob your head to it and be like, you're still like, yeah, I know this. I know. I think I've heard this one before, but you love the new fresh coat of paint we're putting on these things. And again, like I've been a part of the Looney Tunes family, voicing Marvin probably the longest Earth creature of all the characters, almost 12 years. 12 Earth years. Isn't that lovely? So I've been a part of like several different incarnations of like Looney Tunes, whether it be a commercial, something as big as Space Jam: A New Legacy with LeBron, or something like as short as Looney Tunes cartoons. And I have so much fun every time I do it, but it is pretty refreshing when you do run into a crew like this, that just, you're like, oh, I get to be a part of like a good like retelling of these characters, and add to the legacy of Looney Tunes.
I did see that Marvin Martian was the longest character that you have done before you then started coming in and doing more characters. And of course, when you started at least voicing the character of Bugs, you came in at such a milestone for that character. The character turned 80 last year.
Yes.
And I was just like watching. I mean, I knew that, but then I was just like watching like the behind the scenes of the drawing of the character, and I'm hearing your voice as Bugs talk about the character, and it was like, I'm gonna be 80 this year. And I was like, and I'm sitting here going like, yeah, you are, and you're a Leo. That's why I probably like Bugs.
Yeah.
So the fact that you were a part of such a big milestone for this popular cartoon character had to be huge for you, more so than anything.
It's almost like this, you have the feeling of imposter syndrome, because here we are, like, it's like kind of like the first time. I always say Warner Brothers gave me the keys to the Cadillac. They said, "Sure, go take it out for a spin, but don't scratch it." I gotta check my mirrors and check the side view, make sure I pull it out of the garage just right.
Yep.
Yeah, you're kind of like, yeah, you're celebrating this character, and like I always say, we talk about Bugs like we know an old relative, like he's like one of our grandparents at 80 years old. So again, people are going to be so familiar with this character, and you're celebrating the 80th birthday, and you're saying you're now the voice of Bugs. There's going to be some naysayers, and you have to take those criticisms with a grain of salt. I'm my biggest critic. I listen to everything I do back and go, oh God, I could do better. But again, to be able to help celebrate and remind people of why we love this character is just the ultimate honor. And and I'm not gonna be I know I'm not the be all end all when it comes to this character. I didn't create the character, and I know, and I hope there's gonna be more voiceover artists. I want there to be a world of Bugs Bunnies, a sea of Bugs Bunnies.
Sure, absolutely.
I want to share that, with other people. I know I wasn't the only little wabbit growing up in front of the TV with a big bowl of cereal. There's plenty of other fans out there, and I sure hope other people get to have that opportunity, not just me.
I think that coming in and voicing such a popular cartoon character and people are watching and they probably go like, I could probably do that. And they probably might go ahead and do that and they could keep that tradition and character going. I honestly, as you said, I
You
would
know,
love to see Bugs Bunny like continue in any and every incarnation that can be brought to the table for sure.
I mean, we're living in that age where it's like we used to look at reboots as like a bad thing, and now it's like we can't get enough of them. We can't get enough of a familiar set of characters and a story that we love. And especially with the technology that we have today that keeps
Yeah,
advancing, it just makes them more timeless than ever, in my opinion, because people keep watching.
they do keep watching, and I'm still gonna keep watching. I'm a big kid at heart, so I'm not gonna stop watching. It's probably gonna be on my television set until I can't watch them anymore, which I hope is never.
Yeah, and look, I'm gonna be realistic here. There's gonna be people that might not like the new flavor or the new version, and the best part is you could still pop in, a Blu-ray or a DVD or a VHS or a Laserdisc, or go back a couple chapters on the streaming networks and watch the originals. If the new stuff isn't quite your liking, by all means, go back to the OG stuff. I do every day.
I do as well, but I also love the new stuff. I love the fact that there's some original flavor in there. And I personally love that Daffy's back to being a slapstick character than what I was accustomed to towards the end of Mel's run with the character, where he was just so. I'm trying to be PC with it.
What? What do you
He
want to
was
say? You want to say he was greedy, maniacal, ego, maniacal, only thinking about himself? Woohoo! Is that what you want to say?
well, he was definitely despicable. Let's put it that way.
Oh, he was despicable, all right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I do love like how he was when he was a bit more Daffy.
Oh yeah.
He could have been the Daffy Duck, and then maybe he could have been renamed Despicable Duck. I don't know, but
You never know. He might have been. Alternate universe. You never know. That might have you do that one day. You never know.
I'll be there. Trust me.
Absolutely. So, how is the recording process for all of this? Now, do you? Because I know you don't do multiple characters in one short. You tend to have another actor that's voicing the other character. Like with Yosemite Sam or Elmer Fudd, it's a different actor that's doing that. Are you guys in the same room when you do it, or are you like recording your own lines yourself, or how does that work?
Well, Looney Tunes cartoon started out pre-pandemic. We were actually going into the studio individually and as groups. I think there may have been a handful of times where, myself, Jeff, and Candy, who would be playing, Tweety, Sylvester, and Granny, were in the room at the
Yes.
same time. Anytime there was a Bugs Bunny and, Elmer Fudd short, it would be myself and Jeff, myself and Fred Tatasciore as Bugs Bunny and Yosemite, myself as Daffy, and Bob as Porky. We would all be in the same room most of the time. But since we've all been kind of, been working from home, this is where I record. I'm actually inside the studio garage, and this is a sound booth that I had acquired in the second year of the pandemic, because I didn't think, I was like, we're going to go back in eventually. And I was actually in a studio this morning, but
Okay.
but I'm here right now, and I'm sure glad that I have this wonderful little studio to record in. It's very helpful, very useful. I'll be using it for the rest of my life, with or without a pandemic.
I was gonna say, with or without a pandemic, it's gonna be in use no matter what. That's great, and that's great though. I mean, honestly, I was always very curious about how that process goes, and just a little bit of an insight onto that. It's pretty
And
cool.
and if we are doing ensemble records, if it's necessary, we will have group sessions over Zoom. So there will be the voice director on Zoom, writers, technical engineers, the audio engineers, of course, and the other performers. So it'll be like watching Hollywood Squares or the Brady Bunch, where there's
Nice.
multiple windows open, and it's trying to assimilate that feeling of just being in the room and that natural chemistry.
This might be a very difficult question for you. What has been, out of these shorts that you've done, your favorite that you've done?
Oh man, that is a difficult question
Uh-huh.
because it's like, yeah, like it's cliche to say like trying to pick your favorite kid, right? It's like
Right.
anytime you get to go out and voice these characters, it's great. I think one of the only times I've ever voiced against myself in this run of Looney Tunes cartoons is Bugs Bunny and Marvin the Martian. So
Yes, you did.
Any time I get to talk to myself is great, Doc.
like going back and forth between those characters, they're ultimately two of my favorite. It's a two-way tie when it comes to my favorite Looney Tunes character of all time. It's Bugs and Marvin. I think Marvin might be in the lead.
By a hair. See what I did there? Ain't
I
I?
see what you did there. Yeah. That was interesting to see that come into play in the recent cartoons that were just uploaded. And I don't know what it was about the coal miner cartoon with Tweety and Sylvester. I like that one a lot, as like, because you're just seeing like these big coal miners protecting this little small canary from Sylvester, and I just thought that was absolutely hysterical. And I mean, literally, this big guy is going like, "Hey, Tweety's missing," and I'm just seeing these big men just running, trying to find this one small bird to get it from this cat, and I'm just like, I just sat in my room and I'm going like, this has to be the funniest thing I just saw.
I'm telling you, the concepts that they come up with on these and the punishment that they're putting some of these, like I always say poor Sylvester and poor Porky, because they always get like
Oh gosh.
the short end of the stick. And like you said, with the slapstick, the violence, they do not hold back. And I think that's why they go overboard with it. It's because we've already seen like a lifetime of just like what we've are used to, but I think the comedy is going even further, and
Yeah.
to show you just how ridiculous it is. It's so absurd and so ridiculous that it, that I feel like that's just kind of like where we're at. And I feel like you have to laugh.
You do, and it's just like you said, Porky's been through the ringer in these recent cartoons. He was just through the ringer with the nephew playing bowling, and then there was the one where oh my god, they were in Daffy and Porky were in a corporate building, and the building collapsed, and I'm just going like, oh my god, this poor pig is just like he's not living his life, man, very well. And then Petunia Pig, even she went through the ringer, which, by the way, I want to give a huge shout out to Petunia Pig's voice actress, Lara Jill Miller, who I loved as Samantha from Give Me a Break. So I wanted to give a shout out. I didn't even know it was her until the end credits rolled, and I said,
oh my god.
I was like, that's the girl from Give Me a Break. And I was like, that's Samantha. And I was like, she's voicing this character. I was like, oh my, I was like literally falling in my chair. That was amazing to me. So it's just like, it's just such an array of actors that are doing this that is completely amazing to me every time a new short comes out, because it's always something different, but it's oh so enjoyable too. So, and obviously, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote always been my favorite shorts. I mean, obviously, what can you do different with that voice of the Roadrunner? We are so lucky that we're able to use the original voice actor for Roadrunner for eternity.
Because you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear anyone else try that. I feel like that's like one of the, and especially, it just the way that they made sound effects back then, it's like you have to wonder, like, what were they doing? Like, what kind of experimentation were they doing back then to achieve?
Well,
like,
I've read about that with that actor who, Paul Julian, when he initially started doing that voice for Roadrunner, it was just on accident. He basically was in Warner Brothers Studios. He was walking down in the hallway and he just said, "Nee," and then it just came out that way. And then that's when they were like, that's it. That's the voice of Roadrunner. And then that's where they went. That's where it went with it. And now Paul is heard all the time now. It will never stop. I think it's great that they use that stock footage and stock audio to keep his voice alive in Roadrunner, whether it's in the television shorts and even the games that I played in Nintendo when they did the
Oh man.
Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. Oh my god! And also that animation was amazing. I'm just throwing that out there. That animation was amazing because it emulated the cartoons back then. So that was really good with Sunsoft, but also that was the most difficult game ever.
Yeah.
Death Valley Rage was so hard. So
Was that on that was on Super Nintendo, right?
it was. Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
They-
That and Rabbit Rampage. They were
Rabbit
both
Rampage was like one of my favorite games playing in the 90s. And I'm telling you, like the resurgence of Looney Tunes in the 90s, like the popularity, the fashion, the styles, like how they were seen was such a great like second coming, and definitely part of our generation growing up as kids, helping them stay alive. And that's why I'm just hoping that my participation with these characters is doing it justice, because we had so many great follow-ups again, and so many great sensibilities and incarnations in the 90s that you just hope that it's finding an audience with today. Today is such a there's so many different things available, genres, ways of telling a story available to today's audience, that you wonder, like, are they going to take it the same way we did when we were growing up? So, but clearly we're finding some fans. We're getting like a lot of thumbs up on social media, and it's been nothing but great.
I will say that it's been a huge part of my life. I mean, obviously it's been a huge part of my life, but it really took on a whole other meaning during the pandemic, because it was like there's nothing good right now going on when we had lockdowns and everything. And then once this was announced and it came out during the height of the pandemic, I was like, I literally said after I started watching, I was like, there's some semblance of happiness that I just found again when I watched these cartoons. I mean, it took me back to my childhood. I mean, I'm not gonna front, it really did. And as you said, even in this conversation, there are fans that may not like the new flavor of the cartoons. And I even said at one point I was afraid, like, how would I react to it? Because there have been some incarnations where I felt it was so disrespectful to the Looney Tunes history and everything like that. So I was worried about how these were going to be. And then when they started showing the shorts on YouTube before it officially premiered on HBO Max, I took a look at those, and immediately I just fell in love with it, especially as we talked about the one with the carnival with Bugs Bunny that was released first, as well as this short with Porky and Daffy, where Daffy was in the cement, and every time he just kept going into the cement, and he kept like popping out in different cartoons, different costumes, one of which was as a Statue of Liberty. And I was literally going like this. As soon as I saw that one, I was going, that literally is slapstick Daffy. That's literally the Daffy I fell in love with. And I literally was going like, yeah, no, this is gonna be good. And then as soon as they all premiered, I was like, yeah, no, I'm happy. I was so happy with it, and I'm still happy with it now. So I'm very happy with what everybody has been able to come with the storyboards and with the voice acting, and especially you in particular. It's been an amazing ride. I love it.
That really means a lot, and I appreciate your take on it and your review. It's so nice to hear from someone in person or live, as live as we can be now these days.
Sure.
To kind of share in the celebration of the work that we've been doing, because you just never know until you actually go out and meet the fans and do the interviews at conventions, like what we used to do, like at Comic-Con.
Oh, I miss those.
Like this interview should have happened at one of those round tables in a conference hall, but I'm so happy and honored that at least we get to share this time together.
Absolutely. And hopefully in the not too distant future, I get to do that with you guys at a roundtable discussion. I think that should happen.
I hope so, at least for the finale of these shorts. Like we've already had like 2 or 3 Comic-Con at home panels, like virtually, and we would otherwise be in San Diego or New York, like celebrating and getting to celebrate with you and some of the regular Looney Tunes like fans. So it's tough. It's tough that we miss out, but at least the shorts are getting done. People are seeing the hard work of all the animators, all the overseas animators. So kudos to them as well.
And we got to have this time, so I was very appreciative of that too. I mean, as soon as I heard that you were coming, I was like, "Oh my god!" Literally my reaction, and I just went on Facebook. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Well,
So
anything for a Looney Tunes cartoon fan, Doc.
Oh, made my heart warm. We got to do this again, please. I would love to have you back, and we definitely need, hopefully, a convention roundtable discussion, because that would be amazing with all of you guys. We got to make that happen. But I would love to have you back here again for sure.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for the chat. If there any other questions that you had, any like closing questions, anything?
Closing questions. Oh, that's very Nightline of you. The only thing I was thinking of before I was wrapping up, I literally just saw your hat and I immediately thought of Kobe Bryant just now. So yeah, I didn't know, I didn't really pay attention to the emblem until just a few seconds ago, and I was just like, oh, and then it just made me think of Kobe and his daughter, since it's now been 2 years since then, and I'm going like 2 years.
I was at the Kobe Memorial game, the big one, where they had like
God,
the musical numbers, and like I was there.
I watched it, and I don't know how you were able to. I'm sure you didn't, but it got to the point where in the midst of that, and then when Vanessa got up, I started crying.
Oh yeah, no, everyone was in tears. The guy next to me like just put his hand on my shoulder, and this was truly a sad day, but also a really a day of remembrance and respect, and remembering one of the greatest players of all time to do it, and just left such an impact on the city of Los Angeles. And it's really hard not to drive anywhere without seeing a mural of Kobe.
Yeah,
Very well mural. Like there's so many everywhere. So I feel like he'll always be with us, and his daughter and the rest of the people that suffered a loss that day. But yeah, would have been amazing to have seen. I know he was a filmmaker himself, also in animation. He won the Academy Award for animated short that year.
What could have been if Bugs and Kobe could have collaborated on something.
But
that would have been interesting for sure. Yeah.
I'm thankful for my time with LeBron in the booth and on the film Space Jam: A New Legacy.
He was a class act, as they say.
He was very.
That's very good. Obviously I watched the original with Michael Jordan, and they talked about that for years, where they were going to make a sequel to the movie, and when it finally happened, I just kind of sat there. I was like, it's an April Fool's joke. It ain't even a thing, because they said it for years and it still never happened. And then when it finally came out, I was like, oh, well, I was wrong. So
yep, it's happening. And you're talking to a kid that grew up watching the original like multiple times in theaters, and I'm a '90s kid, so I'm a Jordan guy. But like LeBron's numbers don't lie. He's definitely up there as far as being a contender for one of the greatest. He's the greatest for his generation, and I feel like getting to be in a film with someone as celebrated and as decorated as LeBron, not just on the court, but even outside the court with all of his charity work that he does. He's also quite the family man himself. So
yeah,
it was really was a great honor and pleasure to work with him.
I now do have a closing question for you.
Sure.
Yes. Now that we brought up Space Jam, I was going like, "Ooh, this is a question." Do you think Bugs Bunny in this incarnation that he's in now would actually be attracted to Lola Bunny?
Oh, the incarnation that he's in now, regarding in
like the shorts that we're seeing now that are being on HBO Max now. Do you think Bugs would be attracted to Lola Bunny, because we've seen in previous incarnations he never really was.
Well, it's funny because, like, there have been really, I think, was there a moment in New Looney Tunes where there was Lola? Was Lola in New Looney Tunes? I think she was.
She was in the Looney Tunes show. Yep.
The Looney Tunes show, but then there was another one before Looney Tunes cartoons, which was New Looney Tunes, originally called Wabbit. And
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I think she was, but I think she was just more of like an individual. She wasn't really paired up with Bugs. So I think for me, the ultimate way to answer that would be to design a Lola character in the Looney Tunes cartoon style. Would she? That's for me. The question is, what kind of character would she be in that universe? Would she be like a Petunia Pig, like a standalone kind of like? Well, then again, they did pair her up eventually with Porky again. But that is a good question. I guess my answer would be depending on how she was depicted in the Looney Tunes cartoon universe. If she was kind of like that cool, calm, kind of like warrior princess type that Zendaya gave us, or kind of that. We have three to choose from because Kristen Wiig played her as a comedian, right? Kind of like that aloof kind of comedian. And then we have original Kath Soucie, the the more sassy one. So my answer is strictly dependent on how she would be depicted in the Looney Tunes cartoons universe, and maybe when this is posted, maybe the fans would address that. Like, I'm gonna ask the fans, how would you like to see Lola depicted in the Looney Tunes cartoons universe? More of like the wacky kind of Daffy, or more of like cool, collected kind of new legacy Lola?
Yeah, because saying that every time I would see Bugs, he would see a female wabbit. It's always at the end of the short, and and there it is, and then he's just like fallen in love, and then it just fades to black, and then that's all, folks.
It never happens. It never happens. He never gets. You never.
Oh man, he never gets the goyle. Always a bridesmaid and never a bride.
So yeah, definitely is a question for the ages, man. I think I don't know. We might have to get someone to do pen to paper for this.
We've had a lot of requests for two characters on Looney Tunes cartoons, Lola being one of them, and of course Pepe Le Pew. Who knows what will happen to him?
Wow, that's actually a good one, because especially with a lot of cancel culture and how his cartoons are not seen anymore, he was also one of my favorites too.
He's still on Boomerang. They still play Pepe on Boomerang. So, if you're looking for classic Pepe Le Pew cartoons, they're still available.
Okay, good. And it just sucks I don't have Boomerang. I'm sorry, guys. But
no worries.
But at least he is still shown in some type of capacity, so that's really good. Yes, man. But dude, this was way too much fun. I had so much fun doing this. I really wish you could just stay here and just like eat carrots with me. But
trust me, Doc. You and my dietitian want me to do that. So.
But I would love it. I would love it if you definitely come back. We would love to have you back here. This was amazing. This was such a fun.
I will be back. Who knows? I'm sure there's going to be more season drops of Looney Tunes cartoons. I would be happy to come back and chat with you when the next batch drops and to get your opinions on the new one. So yeah, let me know. I'm around.
Absolutely, we'll make that happen. Eric, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, man.
That's all, folks. Woo!
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, weekend, all of it.
Have a good weekend, sir.
You too.